Bob was falling. One minute, he and his friends were sliding down a steep sand bluff, laughing and hollering, racing back up to the top so they could slide down all over again. Sand was in their hair, in their clothes, and sticking to their sweaty skin. Then, all at once, the bluff seemed to disappear from under him. He was falling through the air, down, down, down. And just before he hit the ground, Bob opened his eyes. He was home, safe in his own bed, and his mother was gently shaking his shoulder. "Were you having a bad dream, Bob?" Edith asked. "Better get up now. Breakfast will be ready soon." Bob let out a breath. It had only been a dream. Summer was still here. School was still a month away. And after chores, the day was his. He jumped out of bed, pulled on his clothes, and hurried barefoot out the back door toward the outhouse, scattering chickens as he ran. They squawked and flapped out of his way, not one bit pleased to have their breakfast interrupted. Inside the outhouse, Bob took a minute to study the pocket knives in the Sears and Roebuck catalog. He sure hoped nobody tore out that page. The old catalogs were kept there for practical purposes, of course, but Bob figured a fellow might as well enjoy the advertisements while he had the chance. Back in the house, the smell of bacon filled the kitchen. Bob sat down to a breakfast of bacon, eggs, thick buttered toast, and his mother's homemade peach preserves. But his daddy, Gordon, reminded him there was work to do. "Bob, don't stay at the table too long. Those cows need to be milked." Bob and his daddy milked 12 cows every morning and every night. That was a lot of milking, and those cows gave more milk than the family could use. So after breakfast, Bob helped carry the buckets to the house, where the fresh milk would be poured into the separator. The cream would rise to the top, and most of it would later be sold at Matt Darden's General Store in Girard. That was good news to Bob, because when they sold cream, his daddy usually gave him an Indian head nickel, and 5 cents could buy a big sack of candy. Once the milking was done and the eggs were gathered, Bob was free for the morning. He ran out to the small pasture behind the house, where his blue roan horse was grazing. Because of that blue-gray color, Bob called him Blue Boy. Blue Boy was gentle and easy, and he hardly bothered to move when Bob came toward him with the bridle. Bob slipped it on, put the bit in his mouth, and with one big leap, jumped up on the horse's back. No saddle. Bob rode bareback, and that suited him just fine. "Come on, Blue Boy," he said, giving him a little kick. "Let's go." Soon, Bob was riding south toward his cousin J.D.'s house. J.D. was 2 years younger, but the two boys were best friends and had played together since they were little. When Bob rode up, J.D. came running to the gate. "Hi, Bob. Can you spend the day?" "I can stay till dinner," Bob said. "Go get your horse and we'll ride." J.D. didn't need to be asked twice. His horse, Tony, was not nearly as gentle as Blue Boy. In fact, Tony had to be hobbled so he wouldn't run off. J.D. was too short to jump on by himself, so Bob made a step with his hands and boosted him up. Then the two boys rode off into the hot, dry summer morning with a stiff breeze blowing across the pasture. They rode for about an hour before stopping at a stock tank to water the horses. The water looked cool and inviting, and the boys talked about going swimming, but it was getting late. They needed to start back. They had only ridden a little ways when J.D. suddenly pulled Tony to a stop. "Look, Bob," he said, "there's a bullbat's nest." Bullbats were birds that nested right on the ground. In the evenings, they would swoop through the air with a strange, bouncing flight, making their odd little peent sound as they hunted mosquitoes and insects. J.D. loved watching them. The boys climbed down from their horses and walked over, expecting to find eggs. But instead, they found two tiny baby birds. JD's eyes lit up. I sure would like to have one of those for a pet. Bob wasn't so sure. You'd better not pick them up, JD. The mother bird might be watching. She might peck your eyeballs out. Now, Bob didn't really know if that was true, but it sounded like the kind of thing that could be true. And besides, he knew the mama bird wouldn't want her babies bothered, but JD just had to have one. He reached down and carefully picked up one of the little baby bullbats. It fit right in his hand. "This is my bird now," JD said proudly. "I'm going to raise it and train it to fly high in the sky and come back when I whistle." Bob sighed. "Well, okay, but we'd better get out of here before the mother bird comes back." The boys climbed back on their horses. JD held the baby bird carefully in one hand. Then Bob called out, "I'll bet Blue Boy can outrun Tony." "No, he can't," JD shouted back. "My horse is the fastest in the state, and my baby Bullbat is my good luck charm." "Well," Bob said, "you'll just have to prove it. On your mark, get set, go." And the race was on. "Go, Blue Boy! Go, Tony!" Across the pasture they flew, both boys kicking their horses and leaning forward, determined to win. Then they reached a plowed field, and neither one slowed down. The horses' hooves sank deep into the soft dirt, and suddenly, the ride was rough and jolting. JD started slipping. He grabbed Tony's mane with his free hand, holding on with everything he had. But little by little, he slid sideways until, thud! He hit the ground. Bob pulled up Blue Boy as fast as he could and jumped down. "Are you hurt, JD? Can you walk? Do you want me to go for help?" JD sat there sobbing. Then, with tears running down his dusty face, he looked up and said, "No, Bob, I'm not hurt." He opened his hand. "But look at my baby bird." Between JD's fingers was a sticky pink mess, with a few feathers and what was left of that poor little bullbat. Bob had never seen such a sorry sight. He helped JD up and gave him his handkerchief to wipe his hand. Then he boosted him back onto Tony, and the two boys rode slowly home. By the time they reached JD's house, they were laughing and teasing each other again. They never did find out who had the fastest horse, and JD never did get to have a pet bullbat. But back in those days, a summer morning could begin with a dream, turn into chores, lead to a horseback race, and end with a story nobody ever forgot.